A lot of people think this started with slavery. It really didn't. The Immigration Act of 1790 is kind of where this begins. And this makes people uncomfortable today. I would like to show you exactly how many fucks I have for your discomfort over this issue. You will find all of my fucks here.
Yeah, here we go.
The Congress established its first uniform rule of naturalization through the Naturalization Act of 1790. Now, remember the Declaration, it says, Declaration of Independence specifically says, for ourselves and our posterity. Your posterity is those who come after you. Okay? These founders were not envisioning an endless onslaught of Indians who have their own country, and Central Americans who have their own country, and Africans who have their own country, and so on and so forth. They didn't even want the Irish, which would have been my people.
Yep.
But the Irish fit in because they're European in their own way. Okay, the Irish are Irish, but they're still, we're still white people. Anyway, the act provided that any free white person who resided within the limits and under the jurisdiction of the United States for at least 2 years could be granted citizenship if he or she showed good character and swore allegiance to the Constitution. The law also provided that the children of naturalized citizens under the age of 21 at the time of their parents' naturalization who were residing in the United States would be considered U.S. citizens. Now, think this through. Everybody's going, oh, that means anybody who was here. No, it doesn't. They specified people of good character and free white people, because guess what? There were white slaves also. Sorry, there were. It's well documented.
But the thing is, for you to bring up good character, that means you have to have somebody vouch for you.
Yeah.
Saying, yes, he's a man of good character.
That is absolutely correct. That is absolutely. I just noticed your name there, Slab Bulkhead.
No, that's from the last show.
Blake has been in town.
Yes.
At any rate, this 1790 Immigration Act was modified in 1795 by Congress to require an applicant to submit a declaration of intent to become a citizen at least 3 years before naturalization, and extending the minimum residence requirement to 5 years. Okay, they wanted people who wanted to be here. We were trying to build a country. Everybody was new to the country at the time. For all those people out there, the crackpots that are like, it's an invasion and it's stolen land. Okay, look, most of the land was unoccupied. And again, you're not going to like this. You're going to call me racist or istophobic. I don't care, whatever. Once again, you will find all of my fucks here. The Native American cultures of that time were what's called a sunsetter culture. They had reached where they were going to be. The Indians of the plains, the Native Americans of the plains that the Spaniards encountered, they didn't have horses. They didn't have metal. Yes, we brought diseases, but every new culture who rides into town always brings a new disease with them. It is a feature of migration.
It's Darwin.
It's Darwin. It just is. It just is what it is. All this crying about the injustice and blah, blah, blah. Shut up. Nobody thought about that stuff. It wasn't even a concept.
Hang on. Every single country, except for maybe Antarctica, has been fought over, won, and lost dozens of times throughout all of the time we've been writing shit down, which is about 8,000 years. So, if anybody's like, hey, it's stolen, and listen, we're evil hairless monkeys, and that's what we fucking do.
Yeah, it just is what it is.
It's that simple.
It just is what it is. Let's be realistic on that part as well. The civilizations that we built when we came here, this is the most sought after piece of real estate in the world, pretty much, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening was this 1790 Immigration Act that got blown out of proportion. And they started saying, well, this is recent too. This is only since 1965, since what's called the Hart-Celler Act, when two congressmen changed the immigration rules for the United States, where we only let in a certain amount of people. It's like 400,000 people a year total, maybe. That was like the maximum amount. And of those, only a handful could be from non-European or non-associated countries. An example of a country that would be associated would be like Argentina, where they have a lot of Italians, they have a lot of Germans, and obviously a lot of Spanish. Argentina is basically a European country,
but also
in South America.
Back then, if you wanted to come to the United States, you needed to bring value with you. You need to be able
Correct.
to support yourself.
Correct.
Not immediately get put on the dole.
Correct. Yes. And as you saw in the 1795 amendment, the naturalization law required an applicant to submit an application, a declaration of intent to become a U.S. citizen 3 years before they got here. You had to write a letter that said, I intend to come here to become a productive member of this new society that we have just founded, because the United States at this point is only 18 years old, really.
Uh-huh.
Well, actually, 1782 was when everything was ratified, so we're 13 years old at this point.
Now,
It's a brand new country.
I believe back then you could still come to the United States and you just landed, you're good to go, and then you could issue your letter that you want to become a citizen.
Yes.
You didn't, I mean, back then you're not going to write from England. They're going to say, who the fuck is this guy? And you had to show up in person.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
and that 3 years, I think, is you make your intent. So by the end of that 3 years, people actually watch you and can vouch for you and say, yeah, he's good to go.
correct. Yeah, there was a lot of that kind of stuff that went on.
Well, because back then honor was very important to it's still very important to men. They just don't seem to realize it, but
it has been drummed out of our society along with any kind of masculinity or what they call gender roles, which is ridiculous because those quote gender roles have always been there throughout all of history. There are variations here and there, but the exception always proves the rule.
Yep.
So it's one of the United States' best known rights, automatic citizenship to all born within its borders, which is stupid and a result of the Hart-Celler Act and the mutation of the 1790 Immigration Act. Birthright citizenship hasn't always been the rule of the land of the U.S., and the legal concept has faced plenty of challenges over the century. In the United States, children obtain their citizenship at birth through a legal principle of jus soli, the right of the soil, which is a royal load of crap. That is, being born on U.S. soil, born to parents are just sanguinis, right of blood. That is, being born to parents who are U.S. citizens. If you're born to parents who are U.S. citizens,
there you go.
You're naturally a U.S. citizen. But if you're just born here because your parents came over here for a little bit of birth tourism, you shouldn't be allowed to be a citizen. Look, I lived overseas for years. You guys know that I speak a couple of different languages. In Korea and a couple of other places, they actually have television shows that tell people how to anchor baby in the United States. And they tell people where the weakest spots in the border are to go through, and all of that good stuff. They have whole television programs about how to anchor baby in the United States. Now, in the case of a country like Korea, there are some big Korean communities here, Los Angeles, New York. We actually had one in Detroit for a while. I don't know if it's still there, but they just like our space because Korea is the size of Indiana, and there are 14 million people living in just Seoul.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a little crowded.
It's really close to New York.
Yes. Seoul is basically just New York, but with more Koreans.
Yeah.
And less crime. Way, way less crime. That was a nice feature of Seoul. You could walk around downtown Seoul at any time of the night and nobody would bother you.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'd get a funny look for being a white guy, but nobody bothered you. So most countries in the Western Hemisphere have some form of just solely citizenship, while Europe favors just sanguinis citizenship. Today, the United States is one of at least 30 countries that affirm birthright citizenship, including most countries in the Western Hemisphere. This is new, okay? This is only in the last 75 years that any of this is going on. Traditionally, notes the Washington Post, lenient naturalization laws made it more appealing for Europeans to travel to and settle in the New World. The naturalization laws were not lenient. Again, you had to produce that letter that you would be here for 3 years before you got offered citizenship, and then you had to live here for 5 years. And like you mentioned, you had to bring something to the game.
Yep.
You couldn't just come to the table and start stuff in your face. You had to have a trade. You had to have a purpose. You couldn't be a criminal. You had to have references of some kind. It wasn't lenient at all. I don't know where they're getting that from, but it's a load of crap. Oh, wait, it's on the Hitler channel. I mean, the History Channel.
And another thing, if they came here and they didn't have a skill and they're willing to work, there was workarounds, but it took longer.
The Naturalization Act. Here's the original act, and this has been edited.
What year was it?
This is 1790.
Okay.
Be it enacted that the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled that any alien being a free white person, it should have said a free white Christian person of good morals, who shall have resided within the limits under the jurisdiction of the United States for the term of 2 years may be admitted to the citizens thereof on application to any common law court of record in any one of the states wherein he shall have resided for the term of at least 1 year, and making proof to the satisfaction of such court that he is a person of good character, and taking the oath or affirmation prescribed by law to support the Constitution, etc., etc. It's right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's right there, and that's part and parcel of the whole ourselves and our posterity thing. They wanted.
Well, number one, they wanted
of the same culture.
They wanted to, keep the culture the same.
Yep.
They wanted the Christian values, and people to be of good moral character to be U.S. citizens. And now,
one of the reasons they hated the Irish so much is because so many of us are Catholics, and America was founded by Protestants for the most part, and they hated us Papists. They did not like the Catholics. There's a problem.
That whole thing was completely stupid.
I know that.
It's the same God nailed to a cross.
I know this and you know this, but you know how it works, man.
Yeah, I know.
Root for team.
Yeah, you got the tribe, the team, and it's just insane.
Root for team.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporter Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the meat caser box.